So that brings us to Ghost Factory. Now, I actually like Ghost Factory for a couple reasons. First of all, it's got a lot of areas where I can hide my tank and not really worry about bleeding too much health. Now, I am going to bleed an insane amount of health in this game from one specific tier 10 on the enemy team. But in general, on this map, there's a lot of areas where you can hide your tank. And not to mention, there's also a lot of bases that you can cap. For example, base C is right in front of me. And that's fantastic, because I can drive right into the base, capture it, and that'll give me some free XP that will, help me increase my mark. This was definitely not the easiest tank to 3 mark. I'll fully admit that. It wasn't the hardest. The Waffenträger Alfie 100 took me 150 games just because of the terrible teams I was getting. This tank took me, I think, 80-ish games. It wasn't too bad. The only reason my stream lasted as long as it did is because on the NA server, there's just not enough people playing the game, especially because I was streaming at, like, midnight, so a lot of the games we were waiting 2-3 minutes in queue, which paired with 2 to 3 minutes in-game, it's literally doubling the stream time. So that's really why the stream lasted so long today. Now, we actually didn't end up marking this tank on stream. I ended off the stream, just like my Waffenträger stream and Vickers Light stream, and then I ended up actually 3-marking this tank shortly after, just by calming down and playing some games solo. It really seems like the more I stream and the longer I stream, the more I lose my patience as the stream goes on, and then I don't know, I just end up not marking the tank on stream. So it's weird, but either way, as we can see in this game, I've already managed to kill the enemy grill. A lot of people don't realize just how fast this thing reloads, right? That grill got shot by me, probably thought, oh, I just got hit for 600. He's going to be able to, he's got a long reload. I'm going to be able to tap him. Well, not really. So we're going to aim it on the 60 TP. Boom. There you go. Nice 714 tap. Look at how quickly this thing racks up damage. I'm already up to 2,000 just in that short time span right there. So we have the enemy 60 and, okay. Well, that shell misses, and that's kind of unfortunate. Now, you're going to watch me make a pretty big misplay here. This is probably the biggest throw I've made in a while. See, on my camera view, I didn't realize that I was poking my tank. As we can see from this point of view, from the enemy 183, I was poking my tank. The entire front corner of my tank. But from my camera view, I was just trying to see that 183 around the corner, if he was poking or not. Unfortunately, what I didn't realize was that literally half of my tank was overexposed, and I just lost 1,338 health. It was a bad play on my part, but it is kind of annoying that you can't see around a corner sometimes. I'd really like to be able to, and yeah, that kind of pissed me off, as you can imagine. My game just went from, oh, I'm doing really good, to, oh, I'm doing not so good. Now it's fine. I still have 600 health left, which is enough to get the job done, but you can see just how quickly this thing gets disintegrated when you play too aggressive sometimes. So at this point, I gotta be really careful, because in this tank, to increase your mark percentage, you have to do around 3,400. That's what I learned. It's about 3,400 you had to do. Or you had to cap a base and get some kills, which is kind of what I focused on in a lot of these games, was getting over 3k, capping bases, and getting kills. Combine all those, and you're looking at a pretty sweet, adventure. But the problem, as you can see in this game here, is the VZ can easily kill me. So I'm trying to sit here where, as you'll notice, my lower plate is hidden. The VZ is APCR as its premium shell, so my armor should be pretty reliable. We have the base cap advantage, so I don't really need to worry about anything. I can just wait here. Eventually somebody's going to drive into base B, and that's when I'm hoping I can get some damage. But, uh-oh, the TVP's pushing my teammate, but there you go. The VZ makes an over-aggression, and I get a nice shell right into their tank for 610. And that finally pushes me over the 3,000 damage threshold. Now I'm going to get another shell into the lower plate of the VZ. Just like that, we're now up to 4,000 damage. Okay, well, there's 2 tanks left, the TVP and the Object 263. I have captured both base B, and we did have base C captured before, but as we can see, that base has been captured now. But I always capture bases. There's the TVP driving in the open. Boom! Nice shell, max roll killing the TVP, and just like that we did 4,616 damage. There's 1 tank left, that's the 263. We load a high explosive, slam it into the side of the 263, and there you go, 4,733 damage, 4 kills, and a pretty solid result overall for the Błyskawica. As you can see, like, this tank can easily perform good. And we aced this game. We aced it. We got a bunch of XP, as you can see, 1,577. This is kind of like the ideal game. I'm not trying to get super high damage games. In fact, the highest game that I've played so far when trying to 3-mark any tank is in the Waffenträger for 7,400. But apart from that, most of the games that I've been playing, I haven't been trying to achieve anything crazy in terms of damage. I've been trying to go more for kills, more for base cap, and more for an average amount of damage, kind of like this game here. And these are the kind of games that are really nice. My mark in that battle alone went up 2.5%, pushing me to 92%. That's a huge increase. So let's take a look at the next game now, which is on Yukon. This game I actually played about 3 battles ago. And this one skyrocketed my mark, as you're going to see when we take a look at the post-game results. But up against us, what do we have? Well, we got a 5A, VZ55, Type 71, Kron. This is kind of like the perfect map, because look at it. They have no mediums. I keep telling chat this when I'm streaming, but the biggest threat to this tank, to the Waffenträger when I was playing that tank as well, is mediums, is light tanks, getting to your side, flanking, tracking you. Those are always the vehicles that are the biggest struggle. When you're up against all heavies and TDs like this, the Błyskawica does amazing because it kind of just farms the crap out of them. So again, I'm going to capture the base in the beginning of this game. Capturing the base is always the smart play. It gives you free XP, and I'd rather capture this than get maybe a free shot out in the beginning. But yeah, mediums are always the biggest threat. The other day, or in my Waffenträger video, I complained about how there were so many people tryharding. And there were a couple people that commented like, oh, that's ironic because you're tryharding. But the difference is I'm tryharding in a freaking Waffenträger Alpha E100 and a Błyskawica. I'm in vehicles that aren't the meta, right? The meta is the E50M, the E6, the 116F3, vehicles that we're seeing spammed right now, the T100LT. It's not fun when you're playing in a vehicle like this and you're going up against the constant spam of overpowered tech trees or even collectors. So that's been the major reason I've been saying tryhards have been so cringe. It's not the tryhards that are playing, you know, like how many people have you seen trying to 3-mark a Waffenträger or a Błyskawica or a Vickers Light? You haven't. You just haven't. And that's kind of the fact of the matter. A lot of these people that have been trying to 3-mark their tanks are driving the most cringe OP vehicles. And that's why it's been by far a very unenjoyable experience for me in these tanks, because they aren't the meta. They're more challenging, they're harder to play, and therefore it's harder for me to get the required XP and marks in it while you're running into these other players that are just in more flexible tanks. But as we can see, so far I've been doing pretty good here. We're up to 1,780 damage. We got a nice shell into the track wheel of that VZ55. And I'm going to move up again. The VZ showing me their lower plate, and we're going to get another shell for another 700 damage. You might say, oh, those are high rolls, but this thing has 700 average damage when you're close. Like, it hits really hard. It's almost the same alpha damage as the YAG with really none of the downsides. But the YAG is like 40 XP easier to mark on average, so overall, the YAG actually might be an easier tank to 3-mark than the Błyskawica. So what are we going to do here? Well, we got the Grill 15, and we got a lot. The problem is right now, I'm at 3K, and I know I have to play smart here. So my chieftain's going to go for the grill. He's going to try and farm that grill. And I'm thinking to myself, okay, well, I'm going to hope that this grill is focused on that chieftain. I'm going to push the 5A, going to keep looking behind me. We're going to get a nice shell into the lower plate of the 5A for 725, and we're going to reload again. Okay, we're up to 3,800 damage. I'm keeping an eye on that grill, making sure that that player does not shoot me. We reload, we get a nice shell into the 5A. That puts us up to 4K now. This is where I'm now going to turn around, and I'm going to help out my chieftain. So the chieftain puts on tungsten, gets a 468. We HE the rear of the grill and get 680 damage. Pretty nice stuff. Chieftain gets another nice shell themselves, and now we're going to reload again, and we're going to get another 160 damage. That puts us up to 2 kills and almost 5,000 dealt. There's 3 tanks left on the enemy team. A Kron, a Type 71, and a 183, which we haven't seen. Now, I have enough health that I can take an entire clip from the Kron. Well, technically I can, but the Kron is 410 alpha, so not realistically. I shoot an HE hoping that I can hit the Type 71, but it's such a good example there of where this gun is so troll sometimes. So we're going to move up, and I'm going to try and shoot the Kron, but I just don't have the gun depression. Bruh. We don't get any damage into that player. That's such a shame. But The 183's in the open. I shoot. Obviously, this gun's on movement dispersion is pretty bad, so that misses. But it's fine. It's fine. I've got my adrenaline still cooking. I'm going to aim it on the 183, and this time I give it just a little bit of time to aim in, and we get a 650 damage shell. Now I'm going to move up a little bit more. We're up to 5,500 damage. I'm going to aim it on the lower plate of the 183. Boom. There you go. 506, putting me up to 6,041 damage, and not only that, but 3 kills. This was the most damage I dealt in this tank today. And it shows that I'm really not going for damage when driving this vehicle. If we take a look at the post-game results here... Why did I not hide my webcam? What? Oh, I see. It's 2 separate sources. There you go. You can see right here, we ended up going 2.15% higher just from that game alone, which pushed me up to 94.56% on our ace. So that was a pretty big boost on the capabilities there. And then you can see that the Yukon game I played was there. So then I played one on New Bay, one on Black Goldville, and then the final game that gave me the 3rd mark was on Faust. We had a really unfortunate game on, I think New Bay it was. We didn't go up at all in our mark. We didn't go down that much. We went down like 0.5%, but we just didn't have the opportunity to get a farm. You do not know how nerve-wracking it is, how hard my heart was pounding to play on these games here. This game you're watching me play here, I was at 94.6% or something like that on my mark percentage. And you don't know how much pressure that puts on me when, like, you guys can imagine the situation, right? It's a culmination of like 6 hours of playing Blitz, and it's all down to one good game. If I have a bad game, it could set me back a terrible streak where I have to play another hour, right? If I have a bad game, I remember one of the games I played in the Błyskawica, I had 0 damage. It's the first 0 damage game I've dealt in the past couple months. And the reason I did 0 was because I got YOLO'd by an M6 Yo, an IS-7, and a 113 GFT because my team unfortunately just didn't cover me. So because of that, it set me back like 4% on my mark when I was at 80-something%. That 1-0 damage game probably threw me back an hour of gameplay. And that's what sucks about having bad games. I always tell you guys, the #1 way to mark your tanks is to not have bad games. If you consistently do average and then you have the occasional ace, that's when you're going to be able to get your marks increased. And that's what I focused on here. I started playing more passive, and I realized that even though playing aggressive might give me a really good game, at the same time it could also give me a really bad game. So I should stay more passive, I should wait for the enemy to make misplays, and then I should punish them when they do. So you can see here, it's so tempting to drive up and try and shoot that E6, but you know what? No, I'm not going to do it. I'm going to aim it on the E100. I'm going to wait, I'm going to wait, I'm going to wait, and okay, E100's looking at that other player. I get a nice shell, and then E100 still manages to snap me in the lower plate. That's where the terrible reverse speed on this tank just sucks. If this thing reversed at even 14, we would have been able to back up and not get hit by the E100. But you know what? It's fine. We're doing pretty good so far in terms of damage, and we get a nice 675 into the Yo, and that puts me up to 2,500 already. And if we take a look at the end of the, game results here, there's only 4 tanks left on the enemy team, 2 of which are E4s in platoon on the other side of the map pushing the Stridsvon K. So what that means is that this E100 is completely alone, and it's running the 15 centimeter, which is a big win for me. The E100 with the 15 centimeter has arguably the worst damage per minute, like, that I could go up against. It's like 2,100 DPM. I have double the DPM of the E100, so every time that player shoots, I can hit them twice. So we get a nice shell into the E100, they bounce me. I guess that makes up for the previous shell they snapped me with. And now I'm going to roll to the side of the E100 so that those E4s can't shoot me, and I'm going to get another shell into them, clearing them for 550 damage. At this point, I'm already up to 3,729. And as I said, I only needed to go up 0.5%. I'm pretty sure at this point in the game, if I simply just cap this base, I would have already raised my mark enough that I would have been done. I would have already gotten my 3rd mark. But I obviously wasn't going to be finished. I wanted to get that E4, actually both E4s. And at this point, I knew that if I got just 4,000 damage with the fact I already had 3 kills and 2 bases capped all by myself, I knew that this was the game. I was so relieved at this point. I didn't even care if I died. I just wanted to get one more shell out so that it would guarantee me to get 4K. So that's what we're going to do now. I'm going to put on my speed boost and try and move up here as quick as I can. There you go. E4 just snaps me. Again, it's just crazy how these players just manage to snap you sometimes. So I'm going to aim it on the E4 and get pushed by my teammate, but whatever. Just going to load a gold shell right on the upper plate. Actually, I didn't get pushed by my teammate. You know what happened there? See this little lip here? Wargaming like didn't design the terrain properly. And there's like a lip right here. You can see it there. That lip is what caused my tank to have like that weird effect go on with the gun. But I don't care. The E4 shoots me. I'm going to move up, and I'm aiming on this E4's lower plate. I know the other one's on reload. And at this point, I'm like, yeah, I'm just dead. But nope, the E4 manages to bounce me. So we're going to aim it on this E4's lower plate. Here we go. 3, 2, 1. Boom! Another shell. 668. And that E4 screws up the HE and doesn't kill me, but I don't care at this point. The guy only has 12 health. But we got really lucky there at the end that we kind of lived. But as I said, it doesn't really matter. I wasn't really caring at this point. I just wanted to get 4K, and it would have been enough to get me the increased percentage. So, as we can see, we did 5,717 damage, which gave me an ace. We got 3 kills, and we finished top on the team. And if we take a look once again at the marking requirements, we went up 0.78%, which was enough to put me to 95.32%. So just like that, we finally 3-marked my Błyskawica. Not an easy tank to 3-mark. As I said, this thing required a lot of XP. I was really surprised that this thing required 263 XP to 3-mark. That was a lot more than I really expected. I mean, if you look at the tier 10 so far that I've played, some of them I haven't played, as you can see, but like the Minnow, which in my opinion is a much easier tank to play in, it has less XP required. Like, that doesn't even make sense to me. And, you know, if we play look at other tanks as well that I've played since the 3-marking requirements, we have the Vickers Light. Even the Vickers Light, a light tank, only required me 268. So, both the Vickers Light and the, the Minnow were both easier to mark. Obviously, the Waffenträger was not too challenging in terms of the XP required, wherever the heck that thing is. This tank was only 240, but that makes sense. Also, it's kind of interesting. You can see that my mark went down. I have not played my Waffenträger since I 3-marked the tank. So that's really weird. Like, that's really weird. I haven't played it since I 3-marked the vehicle. Same for the Vickers Light. I think what happened is that because I played in these tanks, like you can see I have the 3 marks. I think what happened is because I played in this vehicle, it actually raised the mark requirement. So it went from 238 XP to 243 because I played in this tank and increased the requirement for it. Because, as you can imagine, there's not many people playing in the Waffenträger F1. So my performance in it, I think, single-handedly made it harder. So I'm sorry for anybody that tries to 3-mark that tank. I just made it a lot harder. And I think that's the case with the Vickers Light as well. I think me playing in that tank raised the bar requirements and actually made it a lot harder to play in. But you guys can let me know what you think in the comments. Hopefully you enjoyed today's video, and let me know what you think about the Błyskawica. At the end of the day, it's a fun tank. It's a really challenging one, but it's an experience that I really enjoyed. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. I'll see you all in the next one. Bye-bye.